More than a dozen Australian politicians are among a group of global leaders raising concerns about China's new laws for Hong Kong. China's government plans to enforce new security measures which will target independence activists, foreign forces and terrorists. Bill Birtles joins us now from Beijing. Bill, there seems to be plenty of international opposition to Beijing's new laws.
Yeah, Karina, we've seen overnight the UK is taking some advice on whether or not citizens from Hong Kong could potentially move to the UK in future, perhaps as refugees or in some sort of similar visa arrangement, because of concerns that these new national security laws could target particularly political dissidents. There's a bit of a debate in the UK about whether British nationals overseas, a type of UK passport that some Hong Kongers have, whether or not that would enable them to be eligible to move there. Also in the US, the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has warned that Hong Kong's special economic status, which distinguishes it from mainland China, could be at risk as far as the US is concerned if these national security laws go ahead. So particularly among Western nations, there is considerable concern that these laws will erode the autonomy that Hong Kong was originally promised when it was handed over from Britain back in 1997.
But Bill, on the surface, targeting sedition and terrorism sounds reasonable, so why is there so much concern?
Well, national security laws have been used up here in the mainland to target, for example, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, Liu Xiaobo. He was a political dissident who advocated for democracy, where he ended up dying basically in jail because he was charged under national security laws. Lawyers have been charged for violating China's national security, also for advocating democracy or taking on politically sensitive cases. To be blunt, China's government has an atrocious track record of using national security laws to target political dissidents. So when the Chinese government says, hey, look, we're only targeting a limited number of acts, things like terrorism, last year, during the 6-month-long protests, quite regularly, Chinese officials and Chinese state media would describe Hong Kong protesters as terrorists. Now, they were referring to those violent elements who were throwing petrol bombs, but there is concern that you could interpret this as broadly as you want if your authorities up here in China. So this is the main thrust of the concern.
So, Bill, Australia speaking out on this, is that likely to have repercussions?
Yeah, possibly. Australia's not the only country that has issued statements voicing concerns. Canada as well, for example, and the UK have joined in. But at the moment, Beijing seems to be increasingly caught up in the rivalry with Washington, and we're seeing on a daily basis the Chinese government using its attack dog state media outlet, the Global Times, to write articles about Australia, warning Australia not to side with the US in this increasing Cold War. So anything that gives the Chinese government an excuse to interpret Australia interfering in China's domestic affairs could be used by Beijing potentially down the track to once again target Australian exports, things like barley, beef, maybe something like wine or dairy. So we haven't seen reaction yet, specifically about this Hong Kong issue, but certainly the Chinese government is in the mood to pick a fight, it seems, with Australia in the broader context of this battle with the US.
Okay, Bill Birtles with the latest there from Beijing.